Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Stark Fishing. Just a reminder, this is a 360 video, which means you should be able to use your mouse to move the camera in all directions. If you're unfamiliar with what a 360 video is, I encourage you to go back to my homepage and watch the instructional video that's there. So today was one of those days when I felt like I just needed to get out on the water after work, even if it meant for just 45 minutes before it got dark. And when I arrived, my plan was to head downriver and fish for yellow perch. We were hosting a Bible study the next night, and I wanted to have a fish fry. But when I arrived, I saw some seagulls right down by the dam working, and I figured I might as well go on up and give it a shot. I actually set my alarm for 10 minutes thinking that I'd leave if I hadn't had a bite in that time. Today, the Corps of Engineers was generating on units 5, 6, and 7. They're not moving a lot of water at this point, but usually this is the kind of conditions that I look for to be able to get into some hybrids, especially on this side of the dam. So at this point, my alarm's about ready to go off, and I still haven't had any bites. I have been using kind of the traditional method of throwing the fluke out into the current and letting it just drift down. So I've been casting way out to the middle and letting it bounce off the bottom. So I'm about ready to leave, but I'm going to try one thing that's a little different. I'm going to cast up to the right of that wall and just see what happens, because the current there didn't seem to be as strong as it was out there in the middle. So it's kind of like you're right on the edge of the strong current. So I wondered if they were hanging out right there. So that was a bump. There was a fish there. So I'm going to cast back and see what happens. And there's a fish. So this is one of the tricky parts, is you've got to get your pole underneath that rope so that when the fish comes on the other side, you're not getting hung up on it. Also, I have my fishing rod in the back that's got a live herring out the back, so I'm going to have to navigate around it as well. I'm actually not using my big rod that I normally like to catch these fish on, so feeling pretty lucky that I was able to get it over into the clear area so that I could get it up to the boat fairly quickly. You know, even a small fish fights really hard in the midst of this current. So much fun. For anyone that's wondering, my life jacket is actually on underneath my coat, so I am protected. I know that boat's kind of rocking back and forth, but I'm being safe. And there goes my alarm to tell me that it's time to go downriver and fish, but I'm certainly not going to leave at this point. That's a nice fish. It measured in about 24 inches. Not sure how much it weighed. Hopefully I'm going to get a scale for Christmas so I can start weighing some of these fish before I throw them back. Just a reminder, though, this is the Savannah River below the dam, and that means that a striper or hybrid has to be at least 27 inches in order to keep. So this is one that I'm going to have to throw back. So that's fish number 1. Let's see what happens on the next cast. I'm not sure if you saw that or not, but the fish actually hit one time and then let go. I missed it, and then it came back and hit it again. Fish number 2. 2 casts in a row. Not too bad. Obviously, this one's not as big as the last one, or I wouldn't have been able to pull him up on that side of the rope and dip net him like that. But still a really good fish. Time to put that other pole up. It's just going to get in the way. Kind of glad I did that, as you'll see in a moment. So that was two casts, 2 fish. Let's see what happens on the next cast. And there's number 3. Definitely the smallest of those 3 fish, but I'm not complaining. Very, very nice. Yeah, no need to measure that one. He's not even close.
That's 3 in a row. 3 casts, 3 fish.
So I'm going to fast forward now. It's about 10 minutes later, and I'm about ready to actually pull up the anchor or pull off the rope and head downriver. But I really wanted to spend some more time since I kind of felt like I located them. But there were no other bites up until just in a moment you're going to see what happens. And there's fish number 4. This one's definitely got some heft to it. It's definitely bigger than the previous fish. If you hear that in the background, that is the horn that the Corps of Engineer blows before they start making changes in the flow of the water. And that means that they're getting ready to open things up a little bit, and the water level is going to come up and the current's going to get a lot stronger. But it usually takes, about 10 or 15 minutes for that to really take place. In this case, though, it will change the way that the fishing was going, and it will prompt me to actually pull up the anchor, pull off the rope, and head downriver. So when you got a fish on that's this size and you might not have your heaviest equipment, you just have to be patient. You just got to take your time and don't horse him in. Note to self, it's time to get a bigger dip net. Thankfully, that fish was hooked really well. Well, there you go. That fish ended up measuring out about 33 inches. Definitely a keeper, and my mission was accomplished. I needed fish for a fish fry, and that one fish fed, I think, like 15 people. So pretty amazing. And I think I still had some fish left over too. If you ever had striper, it's really, really good to eat. All you got to do is just make sure that you trim off all the red meat. I was able to actually cut that up into little chunks, and so it's like little fish nuggets. But they're white and flaky and just absolutely delicious. Well, that's it for this episode, folks. Thanks for stopping by, and I just want to make sure that if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button. That way, when I post new content in the future, you're going to be able to see it as soon as it's published. Have a great day, and remember, if you see me out on the water, be sure to stop and say hello.